Hi, my name is Kelsey and welcome to Kairos Cottage Garden. I am so excited you are here for our June 2021 garden tour. This is our third year in the garden and it's really coming into its own. We have a permaculture driven organic garden right here in the middle of the Garden State, central New Jersey. We are in Zone 7A and let's get started. I'll show you around. So right behind me is our sun garden. It's filled with perennials and we've been working on this bed for years, decades even, so the plants are really established, and I'll show you a closer look at what we have growing over here. We have a ton of bearded irises sprinkled throughout this space in yellows, purples, and blues, and they really have their time in the sun in May. You could see they're kind of crusty. But we've planted some Gaillardia for the first time this year, and they seem to be adapting really well to the space. I haven't deadheaded them, but they're still putting on new blooms, so that's cool. And as far as I understand, they are perennial, so I'm excited to see them back and just grow year after year. This is oregano, and it's been growing for many years. And then this lavender over here is just glorious. It smells incredible. And it started as a small, like 4-inch pot. And now look at it, it's like 3 feet by 2.5 feet tall. Really, really special. We have some English thyme down here. This is Italian rosemary, and I love to just like get a nice little bit of the essential oils on my hand and take a whiff. It's so fragrant. This is spider's wort, which is a really hardy and reliable plant in our garden. And you can see we have 1, 2, 3. And all 3 of those plants began with one 1-gallon pot. So they spread very easily. Well, these we split. We split it into 3 separate plants. And I plan to do the same with what we have here, and then we'll have 9 plants, and it's great bang for your buck because you really can fill a space. It takes a few years, but it's worth it. I love our water feature. It's solar, so the birds really enjoy it too. I watch them in the morning taking their bath. Back here we have Monarda, or another word for it, name for it is bee balm, and it'll bloom red into red blooms. And this I planted this year, and it's supposed to get quite large and fill in this back space. I like the red because it'll draw in the eye. Below I have a brand new Echinacea. It's called Powwow White. And then this we planted last year. It is a purple butterfly bush, and purple butterfly bushes are pretty unique, and last year it didn't blossom, so I'm excited to have some purple blooms this year. And now we'll spin around, and down this alley is something really, really exciting. It is going to be our legacy planting. It's our perennial vegetable bed, and so we'll be able to harvest food from here for decades to come. And by planting now, it will continue to be productive for years and years. This is horseradish, and you could see we have it down the line. We planted this 2 or 3 years ago now, and it's been coming back every year and really, really likes the space. And then we also have asparagus down the center, and then rhubarb on either side. The rhubarb is in between the horseradish plants and then behind as well. So we have 3 different types of asparagus. We have Mary Washington, which is a classic. We have Purple Passion, which will be purple. And then we have Jersey Giant, which, New Jersey. So I felt like I have to plant it. But also plants that have the name of your state, like Rutgers tomato, which is the State University of New Jersey, or a Jersey Giant, like they are bred to grow in this region, in this state, so they should do really well here. So it's a good idea if you see something with your state name in the plant and you're interested in it, go for it, because it should do well in your climate and in your zone. So I imagine we will be harvesting some large yields of Jersey Giant asparagus in years to come. It takes about 3 years for them to establish themselves. So this is their first year, and they've all come up, which is really good. You could see like this palm frond, that is the female asparagus. And then there are just a few tiny little asparagus stalks. And those are the male variety. Those are what you would cut and eat. But they seem to be doing pretty well in this environment. So I'm excited for this legacy to be able to harvest plants from here for a long time. And then for the rhubarb, we have a few varieties. I ordered from Gurney's online. They have a shop, and then an Etsy shop, and then a local garden center. We're growing Glaskins, Victoria. There's a variety called Kangaroo, which I ordered from Gurney's, and it's a Australian cultivar, and it's supposed to be bred to do well in really hot areas. And while we're pretty moderate, it's going to be nice because I'll be able to harvest it later into the season, whereas rhubarb's pretty much spent, it's more of a spring vegetable. By having one that's a little more heat tolerant, I'll be able to harvest that into the summer. So I'm excited, very excited for that. There's also crimson red rhubarb in here as well. I love rhubarb. I love making jams and pies and breads. I'm learning some savory applications as well. I didn't harvest any this year because everything's so new, but I am excited to see what we'll be able to harvest from here, which will be a lot eventually. There's about 20 plants in here, so I am certain that we'll have many opportunities to try different recipes and create new concoctions with our rhubarb plants. Here is an example of the male asparagus. Like, look how thin that is, and that is the stalk that you would harvest. It'll eventually grow to be like maybe 3/4 of an inch thick, like pencil thin to 3/4 of an inch. And then here's the female end. Down here we have our incredible climbing hydrangea. Look how much it has grown. If you've been following along, we planted this. This is its 3rd year, and it blooms white, has beautiful white blossom heads, and eventually it'll cover the entirety of this old shed. It's really doing well, and it's really attaching itself nicely to the shed. Like, it's on there, and it's not being held up by anything. It's just the plant holding itself there, which is really cool. All right, so from this perennial bed, coming across, we have our strawberry patch. We have some borage in the corner here, which is an edible flower. It's also a great pollinator and companion plant. Our strawberries are so prolific this year. Holy moly, there are so many in here. And, well, actually, this is quite a large strawberry. But the strawberries have been pretty small, and I don't know if that is because of the year. They were fertilized with an organic, Espoma organic fertilizer. So I'm not sure, but they are tasty. They're like sweet tarts. Really good. Like this. That's a tasty bite. It's tart and sweet. It's a great flavor. It's homegrown, organic. I love coming out here in the morning and picking fresh strawberries and then putting them in oatmeal. I plan to make some like strawberry basil lemonade, experimenting with different herbs. It's pretty cool to be able to harvest your own fruit. We also have a raspberry patch, which is doing really well, and they are so good. So I'll take you there now. Okay, but before we get into the raspberries, here's another climbing hydrangea. We have one on either side of the tree, and look how much growth it's put on this year. We do have a bit of a net on here to help it grow, but it really isn't quite necessary. This will grow to cover the entirety of this tree, which is going to be so gorgeous. And it also blooms white like the other one. Righty, here are our raspberry bushes. Our raspberries are from DeMeo Farm in Hamilton, New Jersey. They have a ton of different berry bushes, but look at these gorgeous berries. This one's not quite ready to pick, but let's see if we can find one that is ripe for the picking. This one looks good. You can tell because they're a little darker in color, actually, and they also are ready to be like pulled off of the stem. Here, this one's even darker. You can see the difference. Okay, maybe they're not that different, but we supported them with this string. That's why we have the T-posts in here. So I put this nylon string, which won't cut into the plants, but will give them some support for the raspberry canes, because if they are left to, I learned this last year, if they are left to lay on the ground, they will just spring up new plants. So we started with 10 plants in here, but now we have so many because I didn't quite support them last year. So lesson learned, but now we have a lot of raspberry plants. So if you don't want your raspberry plants to spread like crazy, make sure you support them in year one. And don't let them drag on the ground, but I don't mind. I don't mind that they're a little wild. This is their bed. So I'm happy to give them the space. And you can see we have drip in this bed. Each plant has a line of drip tape around it with emitters spaced every 8 inches, I believe. And all of our raised beds have a drip system that I installed and designed. This is a raspberry taste test. Just sweet. So sweet. I can't wait for the day that we have enough to make jam out of our raspberries. Right now I'm just enjoying them in the mornings as well with breakfast, but man, oh man, they are good. They are really good. From our raspberry bed, we will enter our garden proper. This is our main vegetable garden area, our kitchen garden. These are our raised beds, which we designed. We used 2x12s, and we stacked 2 for the taller beds, and we have 1 2x12 for the lower bed. And then these are garden blocks. They're made by Oldcastle. You can get them at your local hardware store. And then we reinforce them with rebar. And they have been working really, really well for us. We filled the beds with layering of compost and like a lasagna style gardening green and brown materials, and then topped with organic soil. And last year I did amend the beds with some more soil. This year I just planted directly in. The level is getting a little low, but it's working fine for us. And again, we do have drip throughout all of our raised beds. I added these clips, which you can find online or at the hardware store this year, and because I was having some gasket like blowing problems, so this is really been helpful. The water pressures was a little too strong even with the pressure regulator that I added, so this has really helped. So what do we have growing in here? So in this bed we have broccoli, which you can see. It's my first time with broccoli. These I bought from the garden center. They started as plants. I didn't start them from seed. And then this red leaf sorrel or bloody dock is a name for it, is going to seed. So I'm gonna have to remove that soon, but I just thought it was so pretty. And then over here we have cauliflower as well in this space. Over here I have carrots planted, a wide variety. There's yellow, orange, black, purple carrots. and then calendula along the edge. And then this is a volunteer. It is some squash, maybe a pumpkin. I'm not sure, but it is large and in charge, and I just said, go ahead, grow. I wasn't about to pull it out, and it seems to be doing well. It is definitely taking over, but I don't mind it being a little wild. On this cattle panel trellis, we have sugar snap peas. I've been harvesting from these every day as well. Oops. It's good to take like the strings off. They're really, really tasty. I actually prefer them when they're a little puffier, like this one, versus the thinner variety. They're a little easier to pick as well. But these are magnolia. They have like a purple flower, you can see, which is really, really pretty. You can see our canopy above, which I love so much. It provides perfect amount of shade. And lots of birds love to visit us in the garden. It's so beautiful. And these are some old, old trees. And then we'll peek around this bed. Okay, so in here we have some more volunteers. I believe these are pumpkins. I threw some pumpkins last year at the end of the fall season. I just threw them right over there. So it is possible that, you know, the seeds were picked up in the wind or an animal dropped some over here. I have some marigolds planted down the line here, as I did last year, to companion plant with our tomatoes, which are ginormous, and they're putting on fruit. Oh, look at that. What variety is this? This is called Chef's Orange, so that'll be really cool. I have a variety of like a mix of heirloom tomatoes. This one is called Mortgage Lifter. Good classic red slicer. This is Mr. Stripey, if I recall. It's like an orange red. This is, I'm calling the neighborhood tomato because our neighbor was out on a walk and I saw they were giving away some free tomato plants and it just said big red tomato. So I'm calling it our neighborhood tomato. This is called Lemon Boy. It'll be a nice yellow, like citrusy kind of tomato. We have a green zebra, which is a stripy green tomato, and black crim, which is like a big slicer, but it's brown, like maroon in color. Over here we have, I planted these peppers under here, but look how much this is sprawling. It's getting a little crazy. I'm just gonna like shift it over here to give these peppers some sun. We have shishito and yellow bell peppers. And then I have nasturtium on every quarter pretty much of the cattle panels. We have a nice variegated one. I don't recall which ones I planted where at the moment. I was just a little willy-nilly with my seed sowing, and so there's a little bit of everything everywhere with the nasturtium. Okay, will you look at this? This is our apothecary, we've termed it. It is filled with perennial herbal plants that have medicinal properties and are really good for you, and they're also really beautiful. This is yarrow. We have wormwood. This is feverfew, which I just planted this year. Valerian, perhaps? I don't exactly remember what this one is called. This is lemon balm, which has such a lovely scent. It smells like gumdrops to me. Here's some more wormwood. Look at this Clary Sage. The bees love it. Hello, Mr. Bee. And it's massive. It is about 4 foot tall. And like, look how big these sage leaves are. I believe this is what you use to like roll up and sage a space, but you can use this for culinary purposes anywhere you'd use sage. I have some lavender plants that I started here. There's a little nasturtium amongst the weeds coming up from last year. This is another lemon balm. Back here I have some more yarrow planted. And then our calendula is coming up. This we planted last year and it didn't blossom at all, but look, it's finally blossoming. So cool. It's so pretty. And chamomile you use for teas and salves. And then this is our comfrey, which, let me tell you a little bit about comfrey. So this comfrey I chopped down about 3 weeks ago and it is fully flush again. It's called, you like chop and drop comfrey, and it was my first time chopping and dropping, and wow, am I amazed. If you can grow comfrey, grow it, because it has so many incredible benefits for your garden. You can just chop the leaves at the base and drop them where they are and it'll just nourish the soil, or you could take those choppings and put them around the base of your other plants. I put them around our fruit trees and our fig trees, and they've already almost fully decomposed, which is mind-boggling. What does that? Comfrey does, and it's beautiful. It has these great blossoms and the bees love it. It's a great pollinator, and it's a miracle plant, I would say. It's featured in a lot of permaculture designs, and it's perennial. So once you have it forever, and it does like to spread. So we have it contained in this raised bed. That was very close. We have it contained in this raised bed, but I really wouldn't mind if it spread elsewhere in the garden, because it is so beneficial and beautiful, and I'm in love with comfrey. Yes, and we planted this comfrey here from seed last year. We just direct sowed the seeds. But on our arbor here, as you enter the garden, we have an incredible new addition, which, oh yes, one little blossom. We have two David Austin climbing roses. They are called the Crown Princess Margareta, and they are this gorgeous apricot color. And then once they open, they fade a little bit to like a creamy, delicious apricot. And I am in love. They're small right now, but eventually it will cover this entire arbor and just envelop the space with its incredible fruity fragrance. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. I just stick my nose inside the buds when they bloom, and you can see all of these spent blooms. I'm going to come in and prune, and it will have another flush of color later this season. It is a blooming variety, so it will bloom a few times throughout the season, and I am going to continue to train it up this trellis. And oh, I am just so happy and so excited. So beautiful. So we'll go through the gate back into the main garden area. Again, our apothecary garden. We have some tomatoes. I love these bamboo stakes. They are so great for tying up tomatoes. I need to do quite a bit of pruning in here. They're getting a little wild, but I like to prune the tomatoes to one stake, like one main stem, and tie it up against this stake. And I just use like the plastic tomato ties. But these are 6 foot tall bamboo sticks that are dried. They're about 1 inch in diameter. I love the natural look. I did procure some more, but they are drying. So unfortunately, I don't have them in these beds just yet. And so the tomatoes I have for those are just hanging out. and they are just waiting to be planted. And I know once they are planted, they'll just explode. But soon we will have tomatoes in that bed, in those plant pots, and those as well, which will total 24 pots. And in each pot I have 2 tomato plants. Yeah, it's a lot. It is a lot. That would be 48 plants. I'm excited to be able to harvest a lot and can a lot of tomato sauce and paste. And so we have San Marzano over here. This is all Roma San Marzano. The ones with this one is a Roma tomato, which is determinate, which means it will only grow a determinate amount of flowers and a determined height. Whereas an indeterminate tomato can grow any number of tomatoes, any fruits, and will grow to an unknown height. It will just grow as long as you let it. So that's why I have them on some taller stakes. Over in this bed, we have a lot of borage, which is kind of a volunteer, but I'm happy it's here. Those are seeds that dropped last year. This is bouquet dill, which will be great for when we pickle. Here are some marigolds. We also have basil. This is opal basil, purple opal basil. We have sweet Genovese, or Genovese and sweet basil. This is a really pretty variegated basil that I found at the garden center. These are cucumber vines, which I'm going to be training up this trellis here. Some more nasturtium, which is supposed to be vining, which I hope will find its way up this trellis. Let's see what type of cucumbers I have planted here. Boston pickling. There's a Parisian. Market Moor, and Muncher, and lemon cucumber, which they look like lemons. They're really quite cool. The Parisian one will produce like mini cucumbers, like little gherkins. I also have cilantro here, and then this is celery, which I got from the garden center as well. And you can see it does look quite a bit like celery. Not quite ready to harvest, but it's looking good. This is our beet bed. I had beets in here last year as well. This year, however, this is a big old weed, which needs to go. But look how loose that soil is, like how easy it was to pull that weed, and look how nice and dark and healthy that soil is. Beautiful. Toss that to the side. But this year I went in and I thinned out both the carrots and the beets. So it's giving them a lot of room to grow, and you can see how nice and big it is. In fact, I wouldn't say it's ready to harvest, but you can see the top of it. We have a nice variety. That was a bull's blood beet, but we also have Ruby Queen, Chioga, which is like a stripe, kind of a candy cane looking beet, and then a golden beet. And then that was we went through this cattle panel. So now we are in the orchard. These are our lilac bushes here. I have this cardboard down to suppress the very, very invasive wild geranium, which is popping up everywhere. And no matter how many times I pull it up, it just seems to keep coming back. This is wild geranium. If you see it in your garden, pull it out because it will take over. It was totally like suffocating the space, and I recently pulled it all out. Oh, quickly, on this panel we have, this is an Athena cantaloupe, and then we have Jade Star watermelon here. So my hope is that it'll climb up this side of the trellis. But next to our 2 lilacs, we have a Gala apple, Honeycrisp, and Belle of Georgia peach. I'm not seeing any fruit on them this year. This is their second year in this space, and we didn't harvest anything last year. So it doesn't look like we will this year either, but it takes a few years for them to root in and get comfortable in the space. This is apple mint, which is a really, really nice scent and flavor. Here we have some eucalyptus. Here is a nice patch that I think will be really impactful. We have a bunch of zinnias here. We have California giants, which should be about almost to the top of the fence, and they're like, blooms should be like that big across, in a mix of colors. And then we have a cactus flower zinnia in the front. They're a little shorter, and they're like the spiky zinnia. And in the middle is California. In the back is the Berneries giant. Over here we have some Moon and Stars watermelon, and you could see like the spots on the watermelon. Those are the stars. And they will be reflected on the fruit itself as well. It'll be speckled like that, which is just really pretty to look at, but they're all supposed to be really tasty. We have red and yellow planted. Over here we have some, I believe this is a potato that just maybe was left in the bag and popped back up this year. More potato. This is an eggplant. You can see that flower in there. Yeah. We have two different Sicilian eggplants. This is chocolate mint. This is peppermint, which was looking quite dead, so I just chopped it all back, and peppermint is really, really hardy, and it's coming back up. And it's very important, if you didn't already know, to plant your mint in a bucket. Otherwise it will take over your garden bed. And if you don't mind it, that's fine. But if you want to, contain it, definitely put it in a planter. This is Egyptian walking onion. This is cool because once these drop, they walk. So they'll fall into another space or within itself and plant more onions. This is our garlic bed. And this bed isn't putting up scapes as quickly as the other bed of garlic that we have, but this will be harvested towards the end of June, July. I planted it a little later this year. You can see all of the red Malabar spinach reseeded here. So it's kind of a perennial in that it really readily reseeds. And so that'll come up and cover this entire cattle panel, and it's like a really thick spinach leaf. I did actually plant some sort of melon in here, but it didn't take. Kajari melon. Inspired by Roots and Refuge, of course, but some more nasturtium on the end. And I like planting nasturtium with my plants because they will protect the other plants. Bugs will be attracted to the nasturtium and eat those instead of eating the food that I want to eat. Plus, you can eat the leaves and you can eat the flowers on nasturtium plants, and I think it's really cool to add to your dishes. So over here, this is our elephant garlic, which look at how ginormous they are. Here's a garlic scape. I have another video on garlic and harvesting garlic, but the scapes, I'm going to come in and snip them out and make pesto with the garlic scapes and dry some of them to make like a green garlic powder. Dehydrate them, because if you leave them on, they're going to flower. Like, look at this. This one needs to go. It's already starting to blossom, and so it's putting energy into the flower and not into forming the bulb. And you don't want that if you want to have a nice bulb of garlic. So I'm going to have to go in there and do some chopping. But garlic scapes are really, really, really tasty. Okay, over here is our zucchini bed, which we have a variety in here. We have Ford hook, we have gray striped zucchini. Oh, look at that. Look at these guys in here. Forming really nicely. I have some yellow zucchini on the other side. You can see in there the yellow zucchini. I have 8 zucchini plants in this 4x4 bed, which according to square foot gardening, you should have 1 zucchini plant per 2 feet, so that's the correct amount to have in here. But wow, have they really taken off. They were so small when I transplanted them. And you could definitely direct sow zucchini, but I happened to transplant them and they're doing nicely. I also put calendula in here, and I'm not sure how well these will do. My hope is that they flourish, but we'll see. Wow. Some bug is really loving this kale. This is Ragged Jack kale. It's like really craggly on the edges. And then there's, it's already going to seed, you can see. It's really a little late for kale, but I wanted to throw it in there for some small, tiny like baby kale leaves. But doesn't this look so lovely? I densely planted this lettuce so that we could just come in and cut and have some nice like mixed green salads in a variety of colors. Now over here, this is some arugula that has really, it's past its prime. It's going to seed, as you can see. And I think a lot of this reseeded from last year too. And I love seeing the flowers, but it does not taste good anymore. It's really spicy and not that yummy. Here's some calendula that reseeded from last year. But let's see what varieties of lettuce we have. We have Butter Crunch. This is Tom Thumb, so it's a really tiny short lettuce. This is La Rosa lettuce, and it's actually this one here, the purple. This is Little Gem Butterhead lettuce. And had I planted these seeds farther apart, they would have each formed a head of lettuce, which is great. But in the summertime, lettuce is quick to bolt and go to seed. So by harvesting it really young, you're still maintaining that really nice fresh flavor that's pleasant, and you're able to have, you know, fresh salads every day. So that's definitely a good reason to densely plant your lettuce. And also I don't see any soil, so there are few weeds within the bed. And then we also have bib lettuce here, and it's really nice and fresh. Down here we have more potatoes, and I didn't buy any potatoes this year. I just took from our pantry potatoes that had developed eyes on them and threw them in plant bags, and they're doing well. We have Yukon Gold, and then we have a red potato as well. This is oregano. This is a bronze fennel. So pretty. Really lovely. This is catmint, which the neighborhood cats love. I spotted one laying right, I was looking out the window and I saw a cat laying right in there. So happy for the cats. Down here we have our blueberry bushes. We have 10 here. And you know, this year there are hardly any blueberries. Like, that's it. And here. I don't know why. Last year I had a lot more blueberries. I did feed them, I fertilized them, and I gave them soil acidifier because blueberries like a more acidic soil, but I'm not sure why they didn't produce this year. I don't know. I'm hopeful that next year will be a better year for blueberries. I don't know if they maybe got too cold one night and snapped, but we'll see. I'm gonna hold strong with these blueberries before thinking about planting any new ones and see how they do next season. But behind them, I have some sunflowers. Oops, some sunflowers planted. All down the line. They're Pro Cut from Haas. I've tried a few different sunflowers, but I found that those are the ones that are actually growing, and little animals in our yard don't want to eat them. So there's like a mix of white, yellow, and burgundy. All right, next to our blueberry row, we have our fig alley. We have 3 fig trees down here. which gives its name. But down here we have our Perennial Cottage border, which I added or built upon this season, and I plan to continue that down here. Against the house, we have 2 climbing roses. We have a Bathsheba, which is like a pinky apricot, and then a Generous Gardener, which is a light blush. Both are from David Austin. I hope to add like a water feature here or something, like a bird bath, or some sort of statue to give some height to that area. And then I also hope to add a fruit tree here. I'm looking for a nectarine tree, but we'll see what I can find. Down here, this is Salvia, a great pollinator. Last year I had some zucchini and watermelons on this, which was not very productive for this space. So along this cattle panel, I planted our cherry tomatoes, which I'm going to have to tie up. And you can see they're putting on, oh look, a few down here. Cool, very cool. We have Super Sweet 100, we have Sun Gold, Chocolate Sprinkles, we have Blue Cream Berries and Isis Cherry, and then interplanted between them we have Marigolds. I'll remove this weed. But I tried for the first time planting these cherry tomatoes in a trench because they had gotten really, really big. And when planting tomatoes, you want to plant the tomato so that there's a lot of the stem in the ground, because anywhere along the stem, roots will grow. So by planting it deeper, it'll just be a stronger plant. So I trenched these tomatoes. So actually the tomato actually started like down here, and I laid it flat down in the trench, and now it's working its way up towards the sun. And I'll be able to tack it onto this cattle panel. Okay, so let's check out these fig trees. They're really putting on a lot of nice growth this year, which I'm very happy about. I'm not seeing any fruit, but they're flourishing quite nicely. We have a Cadota. This is the Cadota fig. This is brown turkey. And then this is our Italian honey fig. Again, no fruit, but a lot of nice growth. Okay, let's check out this perennial cottage garden border, which, let's see if we can pan back. Look at how lovely. And these will just continue to fill in as years go, and wow, is it just lovely. This is our evening primrose. I have another video on this about how to dehydrate it and use it for teas. This is like a pink or rose salvia, another white echinacea. This is a butterfly bush, it'll bloom yellow. Here we have proven winners, Wizard of Oz, Veronica. We have a beautiful lavender here. This is another salvia. These are osteospermum, which I believe are perennial. They produce a really cute, like, pink flower. We have another echinacea there. This is called Sunrise Eclipse. It's a daylily. This is yarrow. It'll be orange. Some lamb's ear. We have some black-eyed Susan. This humongous elephant ear hosta. These are some, like, I don't know where these came from. They're tiger lilies, but I thought I removed them from this area, but they just keep coming back. This is Liriope, which is a great, like, low ground cover, and it produces little white flowers. This is some yellow hyssop. We have our hellebores down here. We have Dark and Handsome, which has this dark purple blossom. I mean, they're way past their prime. They bloom in like one of the first blooms, like April. And then we also have Blushing Bridesmaid. We have Astilbe, which will bloom white. We have an ostrich fern. some more Veronica down there, but we're starting to lose sun and we're reaching the end of our tour. I'll give you a peek at our window boxes this season. We chose proven winners, Picasso in purple. It's a really like beautiful fuchsia with green edges, which plays nicely with this very chartreuse sweet potato vine down the center. In the middle we have Diamond Frost Euphorbia, which is really like ephemeral, fairy-like. And in the center we have Coleus, which I'll pinch back, and then just like basil that you pinch back, those will grow and bush out. Over here we have some stevia growing in this little wheelbarrow. But that's it for our garden tour this evening. Well, you'll see we have some nice solar lights placed throughout for dusk in the garden. But this is our little slice of heaven here at Kairos Cottage Garden. And now that it's dusk, I can show you our garden uplighting. I found these solar lights on Amazon and I have them interspersed throughout the garden, and they add some nice ambiance and uplighting on our plants for evening garden strolls such as this one. And here's the cottage border all lit up. Thank you so much for joining me on our June 2021 garden tour here at Kairos Cottage. I am so grateful that you are here, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.